do men want?
Manifests itself in relationships, and you feel it in relationships, and they can be very powerful spiritually. And if that's what you need, that's what you should go for.
And she said, oh, I'm going to go do a sweat lodge this evening. And I begged her to take me along, and that was about 6 years ago.
Welcome to Speaking of Men. You're watching Public Access Television from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm your host, Mike Rivas. Joining me in the studio today is our producer, Michael Kruchoski. Welcome, Mike.
Well, it's great to be here.
We're taking an opportunity to drop back 10 yards and punt to kind of share some news and information about upcoming events and plans, to take a little bit of a look at where the program's been coming from and where we hope it's going to go. And Mike has some news to share with us that we're all pretty excited about.
Sure. A week ago, I received a letter from the Busky Group in Sacramento, California, and the letter said, "Dear Mike, I am pleased to inform you that your entry has been selected as a finalist in the 1992 Hometown USA Video Festival." And that entry was Speaking of Men. We submitted clips from 4 programs for an entry in the informational series category. There were a record of almost 2,100 entries from over 400 cities in 40 states and 3 Canadian provinces, and we're finalists. That means we're in the top 4 in our category.
So you've told everybody else, and now you've literally you've had an opportunity to brag and tell the world.
We're bragging and telling the world, sure. We think that we've accomplished something in the past year and a half.
How long have you been doing this program?
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
September 19th, 1990.
How many shows you produced, do you think?
Well, we did 24 shows in the Channel 99 series, and we are up to about show 41 in this new Speaking of Men series. So that makes, what, 65 total in roughly 18 months.
Do you think anybody's watching us?
Well, I know somebody's watching us because I come up and applaud you weekly, right?
I have people stop me on the street and say, well, what I do is I try to qualify it. I say, hey, they say, I watched the show. And I say, really? Which program was it? Well, how did you see it? Well, were you just flicking the little TV monitor thing through? Well, yeah, I was. Well, who was I talking? Well, I don't know. About 1 in 3, I think, that actually mention it to us are aware and watch us seriously, and that's probably pretty good.
I think so.
I think we're definitely trying to create some win-win situations, put out some positive information, and I'm real proud of the people who have come down and have guested for us and shared information about various endeavors, and that's pretty broad cross-section.
And those are the people that helped to make us a finalist in this contest.
I think so.
This is a yearly national contest that is sponsored by the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers, a sort of an umbrella organization that covers both commercial cable programs and educational, government, and public access channels. So there's quite a spectrum of entries. We'll know within the month whether or not we've made it to the top. But right now we're in the top 4
Well,
4 entries in our category.
And you can believe that we will let people know if we win.
Bet. You bet.
Hey, we have it's crossed Michael Kruchoski's mind and mine that the honeymoon is pretty much over for the men's movement. We have been led by gurus. We've sweated in lodges. We have bucketed out ponds full of grief. We have gone underground, and with our feelings, we've rattled and we've drummed. And I think it's time to take a little bit of an assessment as to where we are, to look at where we want to go from now on, because it's getting to the point where the individual experience of the man himself and the action he begins to take in his life is going to be the thing that matters in the long run. We have planned a little workshop and get together in the Sandias up at the Pinon Camp Lodge on July 31st, 1st, and 2nd of August. And we're going to do a lot of those things that traditionally we're accused of doing. We're going to drum, shout, build bonfires. We're going to do workshops. We're going to have a little festival celebrating families. We're going to have people come and do arts, present crafts. And what we're really looking for is men interested in sharing their experience and giving us some feedback on what they feel new directions for manhood and the development of a new, healthier masculinity might be. Got anything to add to that generally, Michael?
Oh, sure, I've got plenty to add. I think now is the time that the so-called men's movement could either shrivel up and blow away, or could actually become a lasting social phenomenon. I think that with the right kind of participation from the average guys out there, not the guys who are making big bucks from running workshops, but the guys who are working day in and day out to support their families and their communities. If those folks will come out, I think that we can forge some new directions for the men's movement, make a statement on what we think is really important and how we think we can achieve those things. Mike and I have talked endlessly, it seems, about how to put this together. It's been, at least 6 months in the making now. One of the things that we've done is try to settle on 3 aspects of manhood today, and those 3 aspects are men as individuals, men as family members, and finally men as participants in their communities. And what we hope to do is have a short, say 2.5 hour workshop on each of those aspects, and at the conclusion of the second day of the conference, maybe have some good ideas on what men ought to be doing, or what men are capable of doing, I should say.
What do you think some of the, taking those individually as topics, we're looking at man as the individual, we're looking at man as a part of family, and we're looking at man as a part of community. And I agree with you. I think those are real important in a man's life, you know, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. I was thinking that a redefinition of meaning for men as an individual, what it means to be a man, the acceptance that obviously one of the things that's come out of the men's movement so far is a recognition that most men as individuals have received some wounds. That's what Ed Wood's on being wounded and the little the 2 30-minute programs he did with us was about. Not only the physical wounds that we receive and we think of receiving in war, but also those emotional wounds and being able to identify those. They say that the gift that we have to the world is going to come out of those pains. Can you think of any other things that that the men's issue has begun to address on the individual level for men?
I think that a lot of what's been called the men's movement has been focused strictly on the individual. There are people who are talking about what that means for their families, what that means for their communities, but it seems, this is just my perception, I may be totally wrong, but it seems that it's focused on looking inward. And we're still looking inward, but I think at some point we need to start taking what we're discovering about ourselves and what we think our strengths are, what weaknesses we need to work on, to take that knowledge and turn it outward again. And we do a lot of talking about stewardship, and where is the first place that we could steward others? Well, in individual relationships between men, both at work and out in the community, but I think that takes us to the family. That to me seems to be the primary arena for stewardship, mentoring, bringing up our children, those primary relationships.
You know, the two symbols that spring to my mind almost instantly that most people could probably recognize in what we call the men's movement is the drum, firstly, and secondly would be something that's fairly new, which is the all-male support group. A lot of the ability to mentor and a lot of the ability to, especially for older men, to be able to influence younger men is the ability for men to be able to talk honestly and safely with one another. And it's important that it be men from younger men to older men who and it's that shared experience that that hopefully will help us to enable and develop some attitudes and I don't know if foster is the word, but foster some new attitudes in men coming up this direction. Maybe helping them avoid some of the pitfalls that other men have lived through. Maybe one of the primary examples is right now we're losing men's and women's lifespans were roughly equal in 1900, and we've lost between 8 and 10 years since that time. Men have. We die 8 to 10 years earlier than women do now, and that goes from roughly equal.
Weren't you telling me earlier today that women are trying to get their share of the good thing, and they want to die earlier too?
Oh yeah, more women are. I think 15% more women now are smoking than they were 2 or 3 years ago worldwide. Mm-hmm. And I think making money is fine, and I think careers are fine. But feminism, as I understand it, when Mary Morrell came and shared with us, is built on humanism. And I think that human values are going to have to begin to take precedence over material values. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with having a good life. But killing yourself in the process of doing it seems to miss the point. And to want to take on additional stress, heart disease, cancer, suicide. Men's rate for suicide is a lot higher than women's. So there's some pitfalls and there's some approaches.
That desire to break away from unhealthy lifestyles is one of the key issues that men address individually for themselves. There's obviously a spin-off. If you create a lifestyle that's less stressful, you live longer, you can share more with your family, you can share more good times with your family, not just a number of years, but actual good experiences. You communicate better with them if you're not under a lot of stress. And that focus on work, work is not all that makes man the individual that he is.
Man does not live by bread alone. Is that?
Yeah,
the...
I guess that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for me, I should perhaps tell viewers that Mike and I are both in a men's support group. We meet every Monday evening for 2 hours with roughly 4 or 5 other people, 4 or 5 other men. And I was commenting last week that for me, social activism, that community aspect of men, is what the men's movement is all about. Now, for other people, it's obviously going to be different, but for me, standing up and taking a stand and speaking my mind on the issues, sexism. It's not just men who practice sexism. Women practice sexual stereotyping and biases as well, and I think it's important for men to stand up and be heard. You remember that conversation, don't you?
Yes, and I agreed with you 100%, Mike. I think that...
you had a surprised look there.
I think that, well, I'm still surprised we're here on television, but and number 4 in a national contest. But I believe, for me, that I am beginning to look at what is possible. You know, what is it possible to do as a human being? What is it possible for me to do as a man? What vacuum can I fill? How can I be more creative? How can I be more empowering? And it's important for me to be around other men that I can share my experiences with and get insights into how I can be those things more. And being able to be in a support group with men and a ritual group. It's not just a process group. It also contains a certain amount of ritual. It is an attempt on my part to address a part of that spiritual void that a great many men feel now in America. Obviously, a lot of people feel it, you know. L.A. is burning, man. You know, it's a you know, there's a vacuum, and it's time to get rid of the blame game. It's time to stop saying that it's everybody else's fault. You know, the damage has been done. It's time to make an assessment. It's trying to say this is where we're at. You know, it either means enough to somebody to get up and begin an attempt to do something differently, or it doesn't. You know,
that aspect of topic of personal responsibility came up in our discussion last week in the men's group too. Right. I think it's important that that men assess where they are and what they're capable of changing, just like you're saying, and then agree to do something about it. Doesn't have to be something monumental. It can be as simple as being a big brother to a kid who doesn't have a dad.
Right. But you can't, that's exactly right.
And that brings us right back to...
It might be going out into your neighborhood and sweeping the streets, going into the alley, picking up the broken glass and the bottles. It might be no more than finding out who your neighbors actually are and becoming a little involved with them and letting them know they can lean on you a little bit if they need some help. It's an attempt at being human in a very, what is becoming increasingly a more and more dehumanized and paranoid world.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about what our plans are actually for this
Where is
weekend.
that soapbox?
Where is that soapbox? Well, as Mike said, it will be this coming July 31st, August 1st and 2nd, which will be Friday afternoon through Sunday, late Sunday afternoon, early Sunday evening. It will be in Harris Canyon at the Pinon Canyon YWCA camp.
Right, behind the ranger station.
Behind the ranger station. It's a beautiful setting. It will be especially beautiful at night with the stars out there and the city lights off in the distance.
We'll be drumming and we'll be sweating and we'll be whooping it up.
Well, what are we going to start out with on Friday evening?
Well, we're going to have a speaker from the National Organization of Men and probably some other light entertainment with a little dinner. And we're thinking about doing a fishbowl where any women who would like to participate, that's a situation where you...
it's a communication exercise.
It's a communications exercise. It's, what they call experiential in the...
Right. So Friday evening will include activities that are generally open to the public.
Right.
Couples who would want to come and participate in the dinner, listen to the keynote speaker. Hopefully what we will be doing is talking about where men can go with the men's movement. What are some primary issues that men are concerned about today? And weather permitting, especially fire conditions, we'll have a bonfire and wrap it up around midnight.
Right. Well, somewhere between that. Yeah, and it will be. We want anybody that's coming that has a drum to be sure and bring one because we'll definitely be drumming up there. I have a.
Okay, on Saturday,
okay.
We're going to get up bright and early and start out with breakfast. And as soon as people have some food in their stomachs, we're going to go out and do drumming, right?
Well, we got a few people that are saying they'll come and do some workshops. Gerald Chavez has given us a tentative commitment, and Gerald's a pretty dynamic speaker, and he's going to lead us in some Tai Chi and look at some things on centering the body, talk about men and violence, which is something that that terrifies women, but it's something from talking to him I realize most men know nothing about, the psychology of it. And he's done a number of good things on self-defense. We've gotten a commitment from Ken Richardson out in Phoenix, who was the head of the Meadows out there for a number of years. And he
was the
co-director. Was it the Meadows or Sierra Tucson? I can't
He's the founder of...
Codependence Anonymous.
Right. And he does the life experiences workshops.
Right. He does a series of those. And I've been to one workshop that he's been at. He's just a nice guy, and he'll be talking about how to identify the wounds in our lives, how they affect us, and how we carry those away into other relationships, and how to just start getting healthy. We have a couple of 3 or 4 other speakers who are tentatively committed to do other kinds of workshops. We're real fortunate to have a definite commitment from Chad Perry, who's
he will be leading
the Sweats.
The Sweats.
And we'll probably be building sweat lodges. And as we build those, we will be taking part in ritual. Chad is probably one of the best sweat leaders I've ever been involved with. It's a real good experience, and we'll do some other things. We'll have a campfire, and of course we'll drum, and we will probably do some storytelling and some other experiential things in the evening.
Okay, so that brings us to Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday morning Friday evening, there will be activities that are open to couples, both men and women, who want to come out, enjoy the dinner, and hear the keynote speaker.
Saturday's pretty much...
Saturday is closed
male.
to men. And men who want to bring their males, their sons, by all means give us a call and let us know that they're coming, so we can try to make some plans to include them as a participant in those activities. Okay, so Saturday, men only. Sunday morning, still men only. This is private time for men to talk to one another. And so on Sunday morning, we'll have a meditation exercise, right, in the morning? Earth calling Mike.
I'm getting confused messages from the outer world. Basically Sunday, we're going to have someone come. We're going to do a sunrise ceremony. We're going to try to create some sacred space, and just give general thanks to God, and try to tune ourselves and our hearts and minds to receive a blessing. That's one of those big words.
From nature and from the other participants.
From the other participants, and hopefully from God herself. And what are you grinning about?
That's right, God.
Or himself, as the case may be.
I talk to her often.
That's right.
Okay.
And and then about noon, we'll probably have a little lunch, and then in the afternoon, we're just going to have an out-and-out celebration of family. And we have some children's. We're going to have some children's acts there and entertainments. Hawkwatch is probably going to come up and spend some time with us. If any of you remember the program they did here, they have some beautiful hawks and some great information about raptors. We have a puppeteer tentatively committed, and we have the Bill and Bonnie Hearn Band. If anybody's ever been up to Red River, the Taos area, they're probably one of the best little country and western dance bands there are around. And we're going to have a dance contest and some general
It sounds very grandiose. But we're working on it.
It is.
So Sunday afternoon is basically...
No, what we decided was, Michael, that we're going to get this camp, and we're going to invite people to come. And if they come, I would love to have them, and because we need the input, and the shared experience is a beautiful, wonderful thing for men to be able to do. But if they don't, we're going to be there
have a good
doing
time.
the Cotton Eye Joe, having a good time. So,
so Sunday afternoon, we basically open the camp up again to the public. And I think it's important that men's gatherings don't have this aura of some secret society. There are times when we simply want to be alone.
You do have to know the
talk.
handshake, though.
That's
you do
right.
have to know the handshake to get in.
But there are times when we want to be alone to talk with one another and share our experiences and insights, and there are other times when we need to open up to our families and the community and let people know that we're not just a bunch of crazy guys out in the woods with our spears and our drums hugging trees. So Sunday afternoon is that celebration of men's lifestyles, and it's a statement that we need to accentuate the positive. We've heard for a long time about all the problems that men face: violence, alcoholism, substance abuse, poor communication, and so forth. Yes, and I think men recognize that there are areas that they need to work on and improve themselves, the relationships or communication styles, and so forth. But we need to recognize that there are a lot of really great things that men do, too. For instance, the conductor on the Amtrak train, was it Amtrak or Santa Fe, just a few days ago, saved a 18-month-old child's life, risked his own, literally, hanging off the front of a locomotive to try to get him off the tracks as the train bore down him. You won't hear about that in 5 days from now. It will just be forgotten. So what we're going to do is accentuate the positive in men's lives as well and say that...
It's just a chance to come down and do a sweat and share a little bit and get close and tight and to just generally let go of the bullshit and get into our hearts a little bit and take ourselves seriously. And it's very nice to be with other men doing that. And I think for me it'll be the first time where we've ever tried to expand this to include family.
Right.
Jim Sims, who does our Little Hill series, has a workshop coming up.
That's right,
doesn't
coming
he?
up in about a week, Thursday, June 4th. It will be in the evening, I believe it's 6 or 6:30 p.m. at the Heights YMCA. And the topic is the frontier experience and how that shaped men's attitudes towards life, sure. And you can get information about that by calling Jim directly at 265-7460 and either get him in person or his answering machine.
Right.
We also have another Jim that I'd like to thank. One of our crew members, Jim Dickey, was recently featured in an article in the Albuquerque Journal. He's here tonight. He does volunteer work down at the Rio Grande Nature Center, and we'd like to thank him for everything that he does.
You want to bring him over here and make him wave at the camera?
No, he's my cameraman tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
Did you just want to generally thank viewers and crew here? We're down to the last couple of minutes. I know you don't like me to say that, producer, but...
Okay, well, we would like to thank viewers because without the continual support as it trickles in week after week, it encouraged us to stick with this project to bring you Speaking of Men every week. And without the help of Mike and our director, Dusty, I would have quit a long time ago. And it certainly helped to have all that support out there in the community.
Well, bye-bye. Lady, did you get me 30?